The record says Rasputin was impossible to kill. The record lies. December 1916, Petrograd. A mystic with court access ended up under river ice, and the 3 stories attached to his death never managed to fit in the same room. Grigori Rasputin came out of Siberia with peasant hands, heavy beard, and a stare people kept writing down. He drank hard, prayed harder, and moved through drawing rooms that smelled of perfume and wax. By 1916, ministers and princes said his name through clenched teeth. Felix Yusupov was the polished one. Silk collars, English manners, too much money. His palace on the Moika had warm electric light and cold stone floors. He later wrote that he lured Rasputin downstairs with cakes, wine, and the promise of meeting his wife. Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich drifted at the edge of the plot. So did Vladimir Purishkevich, loud, monarchist, always ready with a speech. Dr. Stanislaus Lazarevich supplied the poison in some versions. 1 dead man, too many helpers. That smell usually means trouble. Petrograd in wartime had frozen gutters and long bread lines. Sleigh runners hissed over dirty snow. The Moika Canal cut black through the city, and the palace stood over it like money trying to look permanent. A murder there could hide behind velvet curtains for hours. The basement room mattered. Low ceiling, rugs, a small table set with Madeira and little cakes. Yusupov said music floated down from upstairs while Rasputin ate. The thing is, a room staged for legend always leaves marks, and this one left fewer than it should have. Then there was the river. Malaya Nevka, under winter ice, where the body was recovered days later. Police dragged him out stiff and water dark. Newspapers loved the image. It had distance, cold, and myth. Rivers do good work for liars. On my desk sat the autopsy summary, copied from the original examination by Professor Dmitry Kosaratov. The paper had that dry archive smell, old dust and paste. He listed bullet wounds, bruising, and water in the lungs disputed by later readers. Nothing in that report read like folklore. Beside it lay Yusupov's memoir. Smooth pages, expensive paper. Every sentence polished after the fact. He wrote of cyanide packed into pastries and poured into wine. Rasputin supposedly ate, drank, smiled, and stayed standing. Poison that failed makes a good story. Good stories travel. Then came Purishkevich's account, rougher and louder. He claimed Rasputin fled into the courtyard after the first shooting. More shots followed in the cold air. One missed, one struck his back, another finished the work. He wrote like a man enjoying his own echo. The police timeline had mud on its boots, shots heard late, a motor car used, blood found by a side door and in the courtyard snow. Servants questioned, uniformed men moving in and out. It read less like a duel with the devil and more like a clumsy group killing. The official version hardened fast. Rasputin was invited to Yusupov Palace on the night of December 16th Old Style, December 29th New Style, by Western calendars used later. He was poisoned, shot, survived through unnatural toughness, then dumped through a hole in the ice. Authorities arrested Yusupov and named noble conspirators, but the state never handled it like an ordinary homicide. The court around Nicholas II was already cracked and shivering. Exile replaced a full public reckoning. The empire had larger fires licking at the walls. Later books tightened the screws, cakes laced with cyanide, wine dosed again, a man too evil or too holy to die on schedule, shot, bound, drowned. The record says everything happened. That's the part that doesn't add up. For decades, the case closed itself by repetition. The body in the river became the proof of drowning. The poison became proof of supernatural endurance. The extra shots became proof of panic. Layer enough drama over weak evidence, and people stopped checking the seams. First crack. The autopsy found no clear sign of poison in the stomach. Cyanide leaves questions, especially in 1916 testing, but the report did not support the famous Pastry Act. If poison mattered that much, somebody forgot to leave it in the body. Second crack. The drowning claim. Some retellings insist water was found in the lungs, proof he was alive in the river. Other readings of the autopsy say the lungs and stomach told a different story, and death came before the ice water. Gone. Third crack sat in the bullets. Accounts vary on caliber, direction, and sequence. One wound struck the torso, another hit the back. A fatal headshot appears in the medical record and in later arguments about who fired it. Too many hands around one revolver. Then there were the witnesses who arrived late and remembered selectively. Servants heard shots, then heard stories explaining the shots. A policeman saw movement at the palace and got fragments. Memoirs came later. After monarchy fell and reputations needed repair, memory is cheap evidence. One theory keeps its shoes dry. Rasputin was simply murdered downstairs, or in the courtyard, by aristocrats who lost control. Then the poison tale was added to magnify his legend and justify their fear. A plain killing dressed up as a battle against something unnatural. Another theory smells of state work. British intelligence has been dragged into this file, usually through Oswald Rayner, an Oxford friend of Yusupov who was in Petrograd at the time. The head wound feeds that suspicion. Hard proof stays thin, but the rumor never died. A third line points back to self-preservation. Every conspirator had reason to revise the night. Poison explained delay. The river explained spectacle. Shared guilt became shared theater. The thing is, when men of rank write memoirs, ink can work like bleach. Russia broke open. Revolution came. Archives scattered. Some papers vanished into private hands, others into state vaults. The body was buried, then disturbed after the monarchy fell. Even death did not stay still in this file. Photographs remained. Rasputin's corpse in fur-trimmed clothing. The bridge and embankment near the recovery site. Palace rooms altered by retelling. Every loose end is a story someone tried to bury. The burial kept getting interrupted by politics and vanity. I've worked enough cold cases to know when a legend is covering plain workmanship. A body can be shot. A corpse can be thrown in water. A memoir can add poisoned cakes afterward. Which detail doesn't sit right? Point at it. The desk stays cold. The questions don't.